Meet Cara and Dani. Same age, same city, same $58,000 salary at the same marketing firm. They even split a Spotify account. 6 months in, Cara's phone buzzes on a Thursday night. Her landlord just raised the rent by $300. She opens her banking app, stares at one number, closes the app, opens it again, like the number might change, and then texts her mom. Dani gets the same text from her landlord, opens her banking app, looks at 3 different numbers, transfers $300 from one account to another, goes back to watching TV. Same salary, same rent hike, 2 completely different nervous systems. And the difference between them has nothing to do with income, discipline, or some secret investment strategy. It comes down to a conversation Dani had with her uncle at Thanksgiving 2 years ago that Cara never had with anyone. My name is Nick, and what Dani's uncle told her was something most banks will never volunteer, most parents don't know to teach, and most personal finance content skips entirely because it isn't flashy enough to go viral. It's the 3 bank accounts you're supposed to have, and what each one is actually for. If you've ever looked at your bank balance and felt vaguely uneasy, even when the number wasn't technically bad, stick around. Because by the end of this video, that feeling finally has an explanation. And more importantly, a fix. Here's the problem with how most people set up their banking. They open a checking account at 17 because their parents made them. Maybe they add a savings account in college that earns 0.01% interest and feels pointless. And then they spend the next decade funneling every dollar into that same checking account, paying bills from it, buying groceries from it, going out from it, occasionally moving $200 into savings when they feel guilty, and wondering why money always feels chaotic. That's not a discipline problem. That's an architecture problem. You wouldn't run a business out of one cash register with no categories, no forecasting, and no reserves. But that's exactly how most people between 22 and 38 are running their entire financial life. The 3 accounts we're about to walk through aren't complicated. They aren't exclusive. You can open all 3 this weekend with 0 fees if you know where to look. But together, they do something that one account can never do on its own. They make your money stop feeling like one big blurry pile and start feeling like something you actually control. Let's build the system. Most people treat their checking account like a holding tank. Everything goes in, everything goes out, and whatever's left at the end of the month is some mysterious number that may or may not cover the next bill. That's not a checking account. That's financial anxiety with a routing number. Here's how it's supposed to work. Your checking account should only ever hold one thing: your monthly spending money, not your savings, not your emergency fund, not the money for next month's rent, just the dollars that are allowed to leave your life this month. Think of it like your weekly grocery budget. You bring $200 to the store, you spend $200, you go home. You don't bring your entire savings to the grocery store and hope you stop yourself before going too far. The number you want sitting in your checking account at any given time is simple. Add up your fixed monthly expenses: rent, utilities, subscriptions, minimum debt payments. Add your estimated variable spending: food, gas, going out. That total is your operating number. That's what lives in checking, nothing more. Here's where most people go wrong. They leave their entire paycheck sitting in checking. So, when they check their balance on a Wednesday afternoon and see $3,400, their brain reads that as, "I'm fine, I can afford things." But $1,800 of that is already spoken for. They just can't see it because it's all in one pile. Cara does this. She gets paid $2,400 on the first. Rent is $1,100. Car insurance is $180. Subscriptions are $60. That's $1,340 already gone. But it's still sitting in the account, making the number look safe. So she spends like she has $2,400. And then the 15th arrives and she is doing mental math in the Trader Joe's checkout line. Dani puts $1,400 in checking on payday. Everything else moves immediately. The account never lies to her. When it says $600, it means $600 she can actually spend. The fix is boring and it works. Calculate your real operating number. Fund your checking account to that number on payday. Move everything else before you spend $1. That's account 1. Not glamorous. Genuinely life-changing. Let me tell you what a traditional savings account actually pays you in 2026. The national average interest rate on a standard savings account at a big brick-and-mortar bank is around 0.41% annually. On $5,000, that's about $20 a year. That is less than a large pizza. The bank is holding your money, using your money to make loans and investments, and handing you back enough to cover one delivery fee per year. Meanwhile, high-yield savings accounts, almost all of them online, FDIC insured, and completely free to open, are paying somewhere between 4% and 4.5% in 2026. On that same $5,000, that's $200 to $225 a year for doing nothing differently except choosing a different account. But the interest rate is honestly the secondary reason to have this account. The primary reason is psychological. Here is what a 2019 study from the University of Leeds found. And this one will stay with you. Researchers tracked people's cortisol levels, the hormone your body produces when it's under stress, in relation to their financial buffer. People with less than 1 month of expenses saved showed cortisol levels consistent with chronic stress. The same biological response as someone dealing with a long-term health condition. Not a bad week. Chronic stress. Biological. Measurable. The people with 3 or more months saved, same income, same jobs, same city, showed cortisol levels comparable to people who describe themselves as financially comfortable. Not rich. Comfortable. Your emergency fund isn't a savings goal, it's a biological state change. Now here's the number you're actually building toward. 3 to 6 months of essential expenses. Rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, minimum debt payments. Not 3 months of your full lifestyle. 3 months of the basics. The number that keeps the lights on and the roof over your head if everything else disappears. For someone spending $2,800 a month on essentials, that's $8,400 to $16,800 sitting in a high-yield savings account at a completely different bank than your checking account. That last part matters. Different bank. Not because it's complicated, because distance is the feature. When your emergency fund lives inside the same app as your checking account, one tap away, it stops being an emergency fund. It becomes a slush fund, a guilt fund. The money you borrow from yourself and swear you'll put back. When it's at a separate institution, even one that takes 2 business days to transfer, that friction is the protection. It makes you think twice. And thinking twice is the entire point. Dani's emergency fund is at Marcus by Goldman Sachs. It earns 4.3%. It takes 48 hours to move money. She has touched it once in 2 years. When her car needed a timing belt replaced and the bill was $1,100, she covered it, felt nothing, and refilled the account over the next 3 months. Cara has $400 in the savings account at the same bank as her checking. She moves it back and forth so often she can't remember what it was ever for. Same income, different architecture, different nervous system. Quick check-in before we get to account 3. And I want you to be honest with yourself here, because account 3 is the one that separates the people who feel in control of their money at 40 from the ones who are still figuring it out at 55. How many of these accounts do you currently have set up correctly? Hold that number in your head. It changes how the last section lands. Nobody teaches you this one. And the reason nobody teaches you this one is that it doesn't have a universally agreed upon name. Banks don't advertise it. Financial influencers skip it because it's too quiet to be interesting. But the people who build real wealth between 25 and 40 almost all have a version of it. I call it the opportunity account. Here's what it is: a separate, dedicated savings or brokerage account. Again, different from your checking, different from your emergency fund, that holds money for one specific purpose. Intentional, chosen, non-emergency spending that is bigger than your monthly budget can handle. Not a vacation fund, not a rainy day fund. A fund for things that actually change your financial trajectory. A course that helps you earn more. A down payment. Starting a side business. Investing a lump sum when the market drops. Buying into an opportunity when it appears instead of watching it pass because you were 2 months away from having the cash. Here's the problem most people in their 20s and 30s run into. They have a checking account for spending and a savings account for emergencies. But there's no account for the middle. The intentional, forward-looking money that isn't an emergency, but also isn't this month's rent. So what happens? Every big opportunity becomes a crisis. The car needs new tires, and that's $800 you didn't plan for. Your friend starts a business and asks if you want in for $2,000. Your landlord offers you first right to buy the unit you've been renting. You see a market correction and know rationally you should be buying. But you have nothing liquid outside of the emergency fund that you refuse to touch. Without an opportunity account, you're always one expensive decision away from either going into debt or missing the thing entirely. Let me show you what this looks like in real numbers. Dani puts $200 a month into her opportunity account. That's $2,400 a year. She keeps it in a high-yield savings account until the balance hits $5,000. Then she sweeps it into a low-cost index fund and starts over. After 3 years, she has $7,800 saved and invested. Enough to cover a down payment contribution, a business investment, or a year of serious upskilling. When a graphic design course she'd been eyeing went on sale for $800, she bought it without blinking. That course led directly to a freelance client that now pays her $1,200 a month. The $800 wasn't an expense, it was a seed. Cara spent those same 3 years meaning to start investing, but never having the lump sum feel right. Every time she got close, something came up. And without a dedicated account, the opportunity money was invisible, mixed into the same pile as everything else. A 2022 Fidelity study found that people with 3 or more distinct financial accounts were 47% more likely to report feeling financially confident than people with 1 or 2 accounts. Regardless of their income level, not richer, more confident, because confidence in money isn't really about the balance. It's about knowing what every dollar is doing. That is the entire system. 3 accounts, 3 jobs, 3 completely different parts of your life that money is quietly responsible for. Account 1, your spending account, keeps you honest about what you can actually afford this month. Account 2, your high-yield emergency fund, removes the chronic low-grade financial stress that is quietly taxing your brain every single day. Account 3, your opportunity account, makes sure that when something worth doing appears, you're ready. Not someday ready, actually ready. Here's the thing about Cara and Dani that I want to leave you with. Cara isn't bad with money. She's not irresponsible. She's not spending on things she shouldn't be. She's running a perfectly normal financial setup that nobody ever told her was the wrong architecture for the life she's trying to build. Dani got lucky. Not with money, with a conversation. Her uncle had 45 minutes at Thanksgiving and cared enough to draw it on the napkin. That's it. That's the entire difference between two people with identical salaries living in completely different financial realities. You just got that conversation. 3 accounts, each one at a different institution if you can manage it. Each one with exactly one job. Each one making a different part of your life quieter and more in control. You don't have to open all 3 this weekend. Pick one. If your checking account is a chaotic holding tank, fix that first. If you have no emergency fund or a useless 0.01% one, open a high-yield account today. Marcus, Ali, SoFi, American Express Savings. All free, all FDIC insured, all paying north of 4%. And if you already have the first 2 dialed in, the opportunity account is what separates the people who watch opportunities pass from the people who actually take them. The system isn't complicated. It's just a conversation most people never had. Now you have. If you want to know exactly how much should go into each account based on your specific income, I did a full breakdown on that, and it's right there on your screen. Go watch that one next, and drop a comment telling me which of these 3 accounts you're setting up first. I actually read them. See you in the next one.